Various.
Welcome to The Basement. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Basement. I'm Nolo.
Jose.
And today we got a special episode. We've been thinking about it and talking about it and working on it for a while now. And this week is the week of 9/11. And as New Yorkers, it's a cliche, but we never forget. It's always in our mind. Every September 11th, the lights come up in Manhattan with the two spotlights that shoot up from the city, and you can see it from everywhere, right? So, so today we just want to bring you guys some stories of some people that lived around New York City. We got just a handful, not much, but just a handful of people that just want to tell you guys the little 2 cents of what it was like during 9/11 here.
Yeah. So you'll hear from like three individuals, and then you'll hear our takes on what we experienced at 9/11. Obviously, leave us comments. Let us know your story.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to hear your story.
So we're gonna air this hopefully today, and it'll rock the weekend. 9/11 lands on Tuesday, so we'll have it up beforehand. So hopefully we get some feedback from you guys. And again, our condolences goes out to those who lost family members. This is the basement.
This is it.
So for 9/11, I cut school and I was hanging out like in school, and I went to the lunchroom. The lunchroom was flooded. I was like, yo, what the hell? Like, why is there so many people here in the lunchroom? And I seen like two of my homies, and I walked over to them and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And they were like, son, like, you didn't hear what happened? And I'm like, nah. I'm like, yo, what happened? They were like, yo, nigga, like, terrorists took planes and they flew them into the Twin Towers. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah.
That's how I felt too.
I'm like, get the hell out.
So you heard about it way after it happened?
I heard about it after the
first plane.
No, after the second plane.
At least the second, because that's when they found out it was terrorists.
I heard about it first.
So I didn't hear about the first. I didn't hear about it until after the second plane. And then when I walked outside, I was like, I gotta see this. Because I went to Curtis High School.
And you were down all the time?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I was on. So Curtis High School is on the hill.
Yeah, so
right by the ferry, so it overlooks the whole.
Whoa, you must have saw the whole thing.
Harbor, son.
I was gonna say dope. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
But the fact that you can see the whole harbor is popping.
Yeah, it's a nice view.
It's a really nice view. So, but like
really messed up situation.
Right.
Just want to be clear.
So I walked out of the school and I walked to the corner to like see, and like by then the towers had already collapsed. So they already fell, and I'm just looking, and I just see like this mad smoke just like coming over the harbor.
Yo, just out of curiosity, did you see the smoke plume up? Like when you were looking, oh, you already just fell.
Yeah. The towers had already fell, and like you could see like all the smoke, like I guess at the ground level.
Yeah.
And then like all the smoke that like was just up in the sky, like just coming over the harbor, and like you saw the ferries and stuff, which was transporting firefighters and things like that, like heading into the city. You saw helicopters. It was crazy, my nigga, like crazy. And I remember like just thinking about my sister, because she worked across the street from the towers. So, nigga, I was freaking out, son.
Wow.
Like I went to my mom's job. She worked right down the street from where I went to school, which is wild because I used to cut all the time. Her job was like right there. But like, so I went to where she worked, and I'm like, yo, mommy, what's up with Christina? She's like, yo, she played hooky today. Yo, my mom was like, yo, she played hooky. Like And I remember speaking to her like, yeah, like I just woke up.
She called out of work?
She called out of work.
Wait,
before everything happened.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did the Illuminati contact her and say, don't go to work today?
That's mad funny. That's mad funny. That's mad funny. But
Somebody got a heads up, and it was
That's what it sounds
and
like
the
to
message
me.
came in a beeper format.
well, I mean, if they're reaching out to my sister, then they've lost their influence. Because she's just a regular hood Puerto Rican chick.
They were like, whoa, she's not Jewish? What's going on?
Like, like she's
Yo.
just a regular hood Puerto Rican chick that's just like, okay, bet, I'll stay home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that was the case. But now she was like, yeah, like, I woke up and she was like, I ain't feel like going to work. So I didn't go to work. And she's like, she just stayed home. And like, and my other sister, she was pregnant at the time. She went to work. But she worked in Midtown. So she was like far away from where everything happened. And like, she had to walk from Midtown to Brooklyn. And she was 7 months pregnant. Wow. Yo, she had to
She walked over the bridge?
She walked over the Brooklyn Bridge. And like, she was like
They say that's good though. The walking.
Because it helps.
Yeah,
get
but
the
that's
baby
a
out.
lot of walking. My nigga.
I know, but
When she walked across, she must have saw people drenched in
She saw
smoke.
all that, son. She was like, she saw all the. Her husband at the time, he worked for Accessoride, and he saw everything. Like he saw the first tower had the smoke, so he pulled over to the side. He said, "Just see what happened." Like, son, I remember shit like it was yesterday. Like him telling me the stories and everything. Like he was like he pulled over to the side just to see what was happening. And then he saw the second plane hit.
Live.
And he live, my nigga. He was like, what the fuck? Like he was wild. Like he was bugging out. So he's just like watching it, and then he saw the towers collapse. He saw everything. Son.
So I think we're gonna call this section the 9/11 encounter.
Yo, no, we should do. Wait,
Where we
hold on.
do.
We
You're
should.
gonna take what I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say every time we get a guest,
Greedy
we
Nazi.
ask them, and then we just
We make a
compile.
clip of that. You see, he took my idea. Pink Panther over here took my idea. But yeah, we want to call it like the 9/11. What was your experience on 9/11? I think that for
It was wild, son. Like,
it was just
son, I was 16 years old. Yo, I really thought like, yo, this is how it ends. Like, yo, this is the beginning of the end. Like at 16, like I was not a Christian at all. So like, but my mom's, she's a Christian. Like she's been a Christian her whole life. So like, she would always tell me like, yo, watch out for the rapture. This is like, yo, Dave, you need to like.
You thought that was it right there?
Nigga,
You're like, God is here.
I didn't know what to think. So I was like, yo, this is it. This is it. It's a wrap.
Yo,
I
that's
should
what-
have listened to
you know
my
what, like-
moms. I should have listened to my mom.
Yo, the ending of Infinity War. I was like, they must have thought the rapture was taking place.
shut up. I got 2 more days. I get to watch
right,
it.
That's right. But that doesn't really
Give anything away.
So you get with that. But yo, so to me, not that I thought it was the rapture, but I thought like it was like World War III was about to happen.
Nah, for sure. Yeah, I felt the same way.
Like
Word.
I was like, yo, like I think this is the beginning of the end for America and for the world.
Yeah,
like
bro, I felt
yo,
the same
yo,
way.
this is
It was definitely the beginning of something,
yeah.
and I think we're obviously still working figuring that stuff out.
I mean, I think that kind of like ushered in a lot of what's happening now. Like maybe not intentionally or like explicitly, but like I think I have my own views on what happened for 9/11. Like I do like I don't. They're not very formulated. I've watched a lot of like those conspiracy theory stuff on there.
You
and
think
stuff
inside job stuff like that?
I don't know if it was inside job, but I don't think they were clueless as to what was happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's no way you just take an airplane like that. Like I don't know.
I mean,
Like,
hijackings took place in the past.
okay. See, I'm not really well informed on that.
There's
so
a
I
famous
don't
story
know.
of a guy, Candid Camera. You remember that show? Old show called Candid Camera?
Yes, I do remember that.
That guy that hosted that show.
Uh-huh.
This is an old story. This is during the time of Fidel Castro and Cuba and stuff.
Okay.
So he was in an airplane, and a person from Cuba hijacked the plane
That's crazy.
because they were trying to escape Cuba and land in America. People on the plane saw the Can the camera guy on the plane? And everybody thought it was a joke.
Really?
And the terrorists I don't know if you would call them terrorists, but the hijackers were taking over the plane, and everybody thought it was just a joke. That's the camera guy.
And that happens a lot. That scenario happens a lot in different situations.
Yeah.
People are like, this is a show.
We have the world has a history of hijacking planes. Almost none of them end in terrorism.
Right.
They would I hijacked the plane because I need you to divert and fly me out of this country.
Right.
And I need to land here and escape.
Right.
Or I'm hijacking this plane. I want $10,000 when I land. $1 million, whatever. When I land.
Which they never.
It will almost never ended in terrorism, and it wasn't until it actually did end in terrorism where the world was like, all right, we gotta take action now.
I just remember for me in 9/11, I don't know why I was on 3rd Avenue.
How old was you?
I don't even know how old I am. How about that? I had lost my mother 2 years prior, so my life at that point, I was an atheist. But I remember being on 3rd Avenue and seeing the trucks with the building,
Powder, smoke.
just the materials. What's the word I'm looking for? The whatever, debris. There you go.
Yeah.
And I remember how one thing that stood out, they were brand new, fully tinted, like those dump trucks that carry the debris. Like they were I was like, I've never seen a dump truck like that, and I knew it was carrying the line because you could see the debris that looked like the pillars and the windows, and I remember like this is the 9/11 stuff, and they were like booking it. It was like 13.
Oh, so this is not actually enough. This is days later.
This is the recovery and the rescue efforts and just moving the debris. I remember seeing them, for days on end. 3rd Avenue booking it to Staten Island or wherever they were going. Yeah. They weren't staying here.
Right, which was Jersey and Staten Island.
But I remember seeing it. I remember got the feeling of like, oh, okay, they're doing this because they're gonna investigate the materials, and this is an investigation. But now I think about it, I'm just like, damn, it almost seemed like they were in a rush to get rid of it.
Right.
That reminds me of
Pentagon. So I heard some stories that like, even though the planes hit the towers, like, not that the towers were gonna collapse from the crash, but that like they were blown up.
Yeah,
like
from inside.
Yeah, from the inside, which I don't think is that much of a stretch.
Because
of the way they fell, also, and two, like even if they did, like I don't think that's like worth covering up. Like, is it worth covering up? Because at that point, well, no. I think it is worth covering up because a lot of people were killed when they collapsed. So I take that back. Like, it's not like they collapsed hours after everybody was evacuated and stuff like that. So it is worth covering up if they did.
In fact, if they were really responsible for it.
Right, yeah. If they were really responsible for it, then they would.
It's crazy because we're in a point where I would imagine it's almost now impossible. If the government was responsible for 9/11, you would imagine that it's impossible for them to pull something like that off now because everyone has a cell phone with a camera.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was like if it was an inside job, that was the perfect
timing to do it.
Because everything, like, I mean,
even
now, like all the videos and stuff that they have, like investigating the matter, like the technology now to investigate whether or not it was an inside job is kind of backfiring on them if it was an inside job. But because like we're so far ahead and like people turn everything into a conspiracy theory, I think that's the only thing that they got working in their favor is that everybody thinks everything is a conspiracy theory. Yeah. So it's like all right. Let them have it. Let them think it's a conspiracy because, like, it will always just be that. It will always just be a conspiracy.
It's like like JFK, whatever. Yeah.
Right, like they don't take an L from it being a conspiracy because of the times that we live in, where people are skeptical of everything. So it's just like, all right, whatever. Like, and on top of that, it's like, who are we're 3 Puerto Rican dudes sitting in the basement, like talking about this stuff. Like, we're not influencing the masses. So, like, to them, it's like, we're not taking it out.
Yeah, so like let them think what they want to think.
Yeah, like,
Okay,
let them think whatever the hell they want to think. Who cares?
I can't
Like,
believe
you
I
know
have to
what
pay somebody to sit in the in this office and spy on these guys. What a waste of employee dollars.
What a waste of dollars. It's our money that's paying them to do that. It's like, yo, not only let them think about it, but let them pay for our spies anyway.
Yeah, but I'd still rather spend it on a Starbucks coffee.
I mean,
I don't know. Starbucks is racist as far as I heard.
Ooh, mermaids.
Starbucks.
What are you trying to show
Dunkin'
us on
Donuts
this?
all
I'm trying to
day.
show you some more conspiracy theories right here.
You know the audience is not going to be able to hear this.
Yo, check it out. Look at this building right here. Building fire in Brazil.
How did it fall?
A fire.
But did it fall this? Oh, it fell the same way.
Similar.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Is it made from the same materials?
Now, a lot of people online, I've been reading on Reddit, I don't know if you know what Reddit is. People say, oh, it felt just like 9/11. Oh, there's proofs.
Oh,
But
they
if you
look
look
like
at the
it,
video,
though.
one side of it falls down, but the side that the lights on right now. That falls first.
And the other one
whole
tilts
side.
over?
And the other one, look, let's see if you see it. See how it falls down?
Yeah.
And then the other half of it falls down. So it's not exactly like 9/11.
No, it's not
kinda
exactly like that. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
the other...
I mean, so from looking at that versus like the towers, was that looks like one side of the building was just kind of on fire versus the other side wasn't really in flames the way the other side was.
So what's that like weaker? You saying just
Right,
fell that
but
way?
like with the towers, like the plane went right through it. So like really like the integrity of the structure in the middle
Yeah.
could have.
So you're saying that the
damaged.
whatever the section that the plane hit damaged it,
What are you doing?
damaged that section,
Yeah.
and because it made it so weak, the weight from the top collapsed, and then it just caused a
yes.
cascade effect.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I'm saying that can be what happened. I'm not an architect, so I don't know
The only thing
how
that...
they fall. But like,
But you did work for the Bush administration.
I did not. You think they hired a nigga like me? They were absolutely not.
But you admit that they told your sister in advance what was going to
This is where that clip. This is where that clip of Kanye West about Bush is perfect. Like in the background.
They
No,
told my sister who loved to smoke weed at the time that they're like, listen, ain't nobody gonna.
Like, don't go to
believe
work. We're gonna legalize weed in a few years. Just
Right, they were like, yo,
Relax,
chill. Like, yeah, and we apologize. We're not trying to make light. I'm not trying to make light.
Don't get work. You don't know anybody that died actually?
I don't know anybody that died. Nah, but so actually, one of my homeboys, his father's friend, lost his wife in the towers. Yeah. I know him, but I know him through my friend, so I don't know him like that. But like, I do have friends and family that were over there when it happened, that like worked there. So one of my homeboys, he was in the co-op program, which is like where you work 1 week and you go to school 1 week, and then you work 1 week, go to school. Like, so he was in that program, and that was his work week, and he worked in the World Trade Center.
Oh God!
And like him and his friend were racing to the World Trade Center to see like who could get there first. So he walked it. His friend took the train. So he worked in building number 7. Which was like right across the street from the two towers. That was the one that collapsed at night though.
Yeah.
So he was saying he had got to work already when the first plane hit, but he also told me that at that time there was what's the things called where they had to like fix
Scaffolding.
Yes. So they had that on the outside of his building. They thought it collapsed. They thought that's what that big sound was. But his intuition...
Oh, they thought the scaffolding fell.
Yes.
Whoa.
So, because it was... I mean, it was a lot. So they thought like, yo, like something like that would make a really big noise, might cause the little things to shake or whatever. So he went outside to see what it was, and it was up. But he also looked up and saw like there was smoke and flames and stuff like that coming out of the towers. And like... He's just like, he said he saw people like all over the place. It was chaotic. He saw some old lady on the floor, and he went to go help the old lady. He said when he went to go help the old lady, the second plane hit.
Wow.
He was like, "Yo, my nigga, like, I just ran." Like he was,
I'd have been gone too, yo.
He just ran. He said he didn't check which way he was running. He said he just ran. Cause he ran for like 30 blocks. He said.
So many people I talked to that tell me the 9/11 story.
Yeah.
They all say when the second plane hit, that's when they knew it was something bad inside.
Yeah.
When the first plane hit, it could be a mistake, but how could they make the mistake? Like, it's still up in the air. When that second plane hit, people
that's
knew
how they
exactly
knew it was the real deal. Yeah.
People
So
knew
like,
exactly what it was.
his thing was like he didn't say he thought about it being a terrorist attack, because he was like, he didn't know it was a plane that hit. He just heard the explosion and ran. It wasn't until later on that like he
just left the old lady on the floor.
Was,
she was like reaching out, come back, help me.
God, son. He was like, yo, son. He was like,
sorry, dear.
I didn't check. He was like, yo, son, I didn't see where I was running. He was like, yo, my nigga, like, I just heard it, I flinched, and I was ghost. He was like, yo,
she was like reaching up in the air, like,
stay away. Like, he didn't tell me if he left her there or whatever. Like, I hope he like at least picked her up and then ran
threw over her shoulder.
But he,
just stay under the scaffolding.
He was like, yo, son, like, I just ran, son. He was like, I didn't look. I didn't check to see who was around me, what was around me. He was like, nigga, I was gone.
Yo, son. I don't know. What is it about 9/11? I think because, we lived through it. Yeah. Every once in a while, maybe every few months, I go back and I just watch a ton of 9/11 videos.
That's crazy.
I don't know what it is about it. It's just something about it that just like, and I keep looking if I find something new that I didn't see before.
Right.
Or hoping that maybe somebody, I never uploaded this video from, 9/11,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just, something about 9/11 always makes me go back to
I think it's because we were there. We all have a story.
Yeah.
And it's just intriguing to keep going back and...
Like, for us, it's...
And honestly...
It's not just like some historical event. It's like, nigga, this was our life. Like, we lived it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we seen
this was a historical event that we actually lived through.
Yeah. Right. Like, in the same way, I would imagine for people that lived in Hawaii when Pearl Harbor happened, like people from other parts of the country watch it, and it's like, oh, that's wild that that's Pearl Harbor. But for them, it's like, it's not like some documentary or historical clip. It's like,
yo, I remember this day.
Like, I remember this day clearly. Like, yo, I remember what I had on. Like, I had on a FUBU shirt. Yo, I had on a FUBU shirt with some blue jeans and black and gray Bo Jacksons. The black and gray Bo Jacksons with some blue jeans and a FUBU shirt. I remember it like it was yesterday, son. I remember it. Son.
Hopefully, we never have to see something like that again. But
wow, this is good.
This is the basement.
So, how old were you when 9/11?
I was in 9/11. I was a freshman in high school, but I got left back. So how old? I was like 14.
What's your name?
Huh?
You might want to say who you are first.
Oh, Edward Rosario. Eddie. This is Eddie.
Cousin
Eddie's Eddie. I was. Wait, you want me to talk about 9/11?
No, yeah.
My experience.
Yeah.
My experience?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a group of us that were we were walking to school, and we were super late. And my brother saw this girl. My brother John saw this girl that he used to mess around with. So he was like, all right. She was like, walk me to school. So now we are in. We went to 293, IS 293, which is on Court Street in Brooklyn. Her school was 88, which is on the right next to the I think the FDR Drive around Water Street. I think that's it, or Front Street, or Columbia Street. I'm sorry, around Columbia Street. That's where her school. So that's maybe like, and that oversees Manhattan. So we walked her. We walked to her school. We see the Twin Towers, and we're like, "Yo, man, let's go. Let's go." Like he's like, "I'm not going to school. Screw this. Let's go. Let's go to the city." And one of my friends go, "Let's go to the Twin Towers. Let's go see the Twin Towers." He's like, "All right." That's when he sees a girl. We walk her to school. Make sure he's making out with her and everything. We hear boom. We're like, "What the heck?" There's a highway under us. So it's like, oh, maybe a tire exploded or anything like that. So it was a few minutes, a couple of minutes. We walked to the. We walked. We was like, I was like, holy crap, that's a hole in the. We were like, you know what? Screw it. We're still gonna go. It's an accident and everything. So we were walking towards the Brooklyn Bridge to go over. We was like, let's just walk. Like the second we see, my brother goes, yo, the second one's coming. Boom, explodes. We looked at each other. Niggas is attacking us. We run to school. And as we get there, nobody believed us.
You went back to class?
I went to school because my brother was like, let's go home. I was like, no. We got to go to school. We all got to go to school right now. Because if Mama look, that's why I call my grandmother. If Mama or Mommy's looking for us, they're gonna look for us in school. So and they at that time they were working, so they're gonna look for us in school. So if we're not in school, she's gonna flip out. Let's go to school. So we get there and we're hysterical. It's like, oh my God, they're attacking us. The security guards, let's stop playing with us, Rosario. Stop effing with us. Get out of here. They look. I was like, go on the roof and look. Turn on the TV. I was like, turn on something. Like we're getting fucking attacked. Just like we're getting fucking attacked. And they turn on the TV and they look and they were like, holy crap, we were getting attacked. So I was in band at that time. So I stood with my music teacher in the band, looking at it. He had cable. He had cable and TV. And because when that happened, none of the antennas worked. If you didn't have cable, you couldn't watch anything. Like I don't know if that happened for you guys, but I didn't have cable in my house, and all the channels were staticky. Remember when you were able to steal cable, someone's wire? My uncle had to do that for us. You get like the squibbly channels and stuff like that.
You definitely get channels.
Yeah, and so so what we did was that we went to we were watching it and everything, and that's when and now in my high school there is a it's called it's 293. There's a large population of Muslims there. So when the news were saying that oh man, this is they attacked us. I don't know what. I don't know. I remember the name what they said, but they said it had to be Yemen, some Arabics that attacked us. I forgot what the group that they said it was. I don't know if they ever said Al Qaeda. That's the thing. I don't know if they ever said Al Qaeda or anything like that. Again, it was almost. This was a long time ago. I don't remember it. But I remember looking at my music teacher. I said, "Yo, they said it might be them." He looked at me. He said, "Shut the fuck up." He's like, "You're gonna. Don't say nothing. Just be quiet." I was like, "Why?" And he explained to me. He was like, and I realized they took all the Muslims in my school and put them in the gym. Because they were scared, because kids were reacting to what was going on, because people heard it and everything like that. We were driving, and then my grandmother ends up picking me up. We had this big red van. We were driving on Atlantic Avenue. No, it looked like it, though. Because church, yeah, she used to drive the church van. Okay. So we were driving, and we saw people that were coming from the city in dust, in pure white. And my grandmother looked at me and said, I feel like I need to help people get home. And my brother was like, nah, Ma, you can't do that. What's that on top of them? And she was like, she looked, she was like, yeah, that's asbestos. Let's get out of here. And just drove away. And she always, if you ask her today, she always says, I should have picked up people to go home. But my grandmother's old, like she can't smell that and everything. And I remember that was on a Wednesday. It happened on a Wednesday. I remember that much because I remember church being that day, and people they canceled church service that day, and I was staying outside in the street smelling fire, all the way in Wyckoff Projects on 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn. You smell fire, everything.
I was on the roof of where I was living at the time, and we were actually catching paper that was from the towers that have burnt. I was like, this is, or maybe from one of the other buildings, but it was actually paperwork from those offices.
There was paper.
There was paper all over the place.
Downtown and everything. You smelled the fire. It was fire and everything.
I was that morning. I got out of work at 8. I was working 12 to 8 that night. Picked up my daughter, dropped her off at school, and she lived in the Midwood section of Brooklyn. So I lived in Sunset Park. As I'm driving on the Prospect Expressway to get off on 4th Avenue, it's the traffic. It's off the wall. I can't pretty much exit on the 4th Avenue exit on the Prospect Expressway, and of course the traffic is at a standstill, and everybody's pretty much out of their car because people just are not moving. And yeah, some way or another, I reversed, got out on 7th Avenue, drove home, and that's when I found out that the planes hit the towers, both.
So you didn't find out until you got home.
No, I actually saw the video on TV of the incident, but people on the highway already were indicating to each other, and of course you turn on the radio, and that's
So that's how you found out on your way to someplace.
on my way home. Correct.
So what'd you do after that?
I was on the Prospect Expressway. Pretty much stood in and watched to the end of the day.
Jesus.
Did you know anybody who?
Did I? No, I did not know no one that was affected by the attacks. No.
Dude, you say you were in the Prospect Park Expressway. You didn't see the smoke and stuff?
Yes, correct. I did see you could see the smoke, and that's what made me inquire. And the traffic was at a standstill basically. So I actually reversed from pretty much trying to exit on the 4th Avenue exit. I reversed all the way to the 8th Avenue exit or 7th Avenue on the Prospect Expressway.
Nice.
Correct.
That's crazy.
I would never had gotten off that highway ever.
If you had.
Well, you did it to
stayed.
your shoulder?
No, I just reversed right in the middle of the street.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That day, a lot of. So
I would have turned the car around. There's no way we wasn't going. No one was going anywhere because, of course, it was being affected by what was going on across the river.
Yeah, because that goes to the tunnel.
Right,
Right.
it all connects. So, what about that changed, if any, changed your perspective of who you were, where you were, who we are as a nation? Like, did I mean, you said you didn't know anyone personally. But is there something that changed in you in light of that event?
No, not necessarily, but it's something that I will carry in my mind forever. Pretty much, I continue living my life the same way, but a little, I would say a little resentful as to, what we as a nation went through at that time.
When did you find out it was terrorists?
When I found, I actually, like, you feel it. You feel that it was a terrorist attack. You just feel something so astronomical like that. It wasn't.
I think for most people, they felt it when the second plane was like, oh, there's.
What's the second plane? I knew immediately.
Right. So first of all, I didn't even know. I don't think I understood fully terrorism. I don't think anyone really did. Majority didn't. But when you saw the second plane, I don't know if I had the right word, terrorism.
Yeah.
But I had the idea of this is an attack.
Yeah, like
We
when it
are
happened,
being
my first
attacked.
thought was like, we're going to war.
Someone
Not
is trying to
necessarily
take us down. And then of course we learned later on. So that was the first those first 2 or 3 days was when I felt the most proud to be an American.
Yeah.
It was
I,
just
I,
thick.
I went to work in 911. I mean at Ground Zero, the night of, the night of when I reported to work. I reported back to work in the same shift which I was working 12 to 8, and I worked there. I worked in Ground Zero.
We're helping with the
Yeah.
recovery and the cleanup.
Basically, right.
Wow.
You were working for the sanitation?
Correct.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
Yeah, it was
Seeing that.
yeah, it was very surreal. I mean, to see it, to actually witness it. And yeah, that morning I came out of work, like I told you, I was 12 to 8. I pretty much didn't sleep the whole day. And of course, when I went into work, they were taking volunteers, and I volunteered to go. Yeah, I wanted to go. I
Wow.
wanted to be part of that.
So what they just had, you just throwing stuff in the truck and driving it out?
Well, basically, when we got there, the place, the place was in shambles. It's a lot of mess going on. We really didn't do anything the first day. I mean, I didn't do anything pretty much. They gave us a couple of brooms. They gave us a couple of equipment.
But the chaos was
sweep.
just
Right,
trying to figure out how to organize this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
I actually didn't.
recovery. So
I didn't get totally into Ground Zero, but I was on the West Side Highway.
You're on
Like,
the
right.
outskirts of it.
Yeah, the outskirts.
Well, that
like-
runs right on Walnut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. It was right there, right there. Like start cleaning up here.
What did it smell like?
It smelled like fire, pretty much, like smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Never forget it. Yeah.
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it was still smoky at the time, right? Like
It
like
was
powder?
yeah, it was smoky. 100%. Yes, it was still smoke up in the air. Oh yeah, I can never forget that. Sure. I went for 2 days, and after that, they wanted more volunteers, but I just felt that it wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of, because it was kind of I don't know. I felt that
you
I
might have saved yourself your life, because there's so many. My father, for example, is dealing with a lung disease, and he worked near on William Street. There's a relief fund for those who can adequately provide documentation of
correct.
specifically lung related diseases or
Mhm.
cancers that they could get. There's a relief fund budget that's been provided for individuals. I gotta get my father on it, because he clearly worked down there. He now has this lung disease. It's related. He never smoked, he never smoked. So where did this come from? He would obviously qualify to pay some of those bills and make his last days easier. But you probably saved yourself years of life by
Yeah.
turning down
Mm-hmm.
that position.
Yeah, right.
It's not a cop out. It's just the reality of what it was. I'm sure those
Correct.
individuals that did involve themselves, they were doing it from the right place. And
There was a lot of us that went down. They actually took everyone's name years after, just to make sure, and they documented that we were there, how many days or whatever. Yeah.
My name is Stevenson Ivory. The 9/11, which is kind of crazy. I was at my home in Staten Island, and the night before, so 9/10, almost around midnight, my father has like a heart issue. He had recently had a heart attack before, so we call the ambulance, and right by my house is the firehouse. So they're the first ones on scene. The ambulance comes, but the fire department comes.
Yeah.
They come and they grab my father, bring him down the stairs, and like a little cart and all that. But he was doing well. Take him to the hospital. Literally, so at the time I'm working at he was a dry cleaner, so I'm working there to keep the business running and all that. And
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So right on the radio, we're trying to get everything ready. We start driving, and just like really, because it was a holiday. It was election day, so things just ran slower. Schools were closed and all that. So we go to the cleaners, and all of a sudden, come on, I turn on the TV, and that's when we see the fire at one of the buildings. So I'm like, oh my God, there's a fire at the building. And right away, I thought something was suspicious, because it's like a small fire. You see like a few floors, and they said, a plane hit it. I'm like, that's got to be intentional. And then the only thing we could think about is my brother Tim. he's in a school that's right below the building. It's like a block away, but the two buildings would tower over the school. Like if you go to the top, you see this skylight, and you see the buildings. It's called a leadership school, and we're there, and so I'm just thinking about him. So I'm like, all right, we gotta get in contact with him, make sure he's away from there, and then a little while later, in the news, right on TV, we see the second plane hit, and I'm like, terrorists. So right away we're like, shut down the cleaners, let's go find my brother. So we're calling people, who's around, my phone's all messed up, everything was so busy. And the few people that we contacted, they were like, yo, I think I saw your brother at the ferry. I'm like, really? They go, yeah. I'm talking about people that I haven't seen in years. We're just calling. And they're like, yo, I saw him at the ferry. Like, he was the first one gone. I'm like, all right, cool. I go to my brother John. My brother John was a police officer for like a year. And I'm like, I just want to make sure he's okay, So we go to his house. He was sleeping through the whole thing. Because he had just got off of a shift on night shift. So we wake him up and we're like, bro, you're watching the news? He's like, well, I'm sleeping. We turn the TV and as we're seeing, one of the towers just fell. And he's like, oh my God, the tower, because there's no tower. And we're like, no, there's no tower at all. And then out there he calls his precinct to like, stay there, get some rest. You're going to be on duty for a while after this.
Yeah.
Once we know what's going on. So then we go back home, because then we're like, my father's in the hospital. What's going on? So we call the hospital. They're like, yeah, we're discharging him. He's okay, but we're just waiting for any injured people. Like we're just making sure the beds are clear, getting all the sick people that we can out.
They get ready for the influx.
The influx of people. We don't know. No one knew anything.
What hospital was it?
The one with
Richmond.
I want to say it was Richmond. So they actually we didn't pick him up. So they actually drove him home, like in the ambulance, to make sure he was okay.
Wow.
So then I was like, all right, he's okay. And then Timothy, he was in the ferry. He came home with all his friends. Like, he took all his friends from school. He's like, yo, let's go to Staten Island. Pretty much he's like, Staten Island's safer than the city, so let's get over here. So they all ended up at my house. So we had like 10 kids at the house. And watching everything and just the impact. So we actually had told all the kids, don't go home, stay here, sleep, order pizza for them. And just kind of just watching the whole thing just unfold. Like, what was going on. The craziest part was, after a few days, you see, like, we're still going to work, trying to keep it there, see the smoldering thing. Yeah. But the most impact I had from it, the fire department, all those guys who helped my father the night before, like literally hours before the whole 9/11, they were the first ones in the tower. So all those faces, I still remember all their faces, bringing my father down the stairs. They all died.
Wow.
Yeah, literally. So that firehouse has their mural, all those like 6 guys, and I see them all. I'm just like, yeah, those guys the night before, taking care of my father. Literally a few hours later, because right from the, below the Clove Road, so it's literally jump on the highway bridge.
Yeah, right there.
Highway right into tunnel right into towers. I'm like, those guys were there within maybe 30 minutes and literally lost their lives.
They got there right before it fell.
Right, they were the first ones into there, besides the one that's downtown. They were literally the first ones there inside the building, getting people out, and that whole crew, that whole morning crew, all gone.
Wow, that's
Yeah. So, knowing, just seeing their faces, and knowing that a few hours later they're all, dead. It was like, that's real. That's what made 9/11 more real.
Yeah.
To me, just and then I had a friend. We're calling people like who was in the building. Like my aunt worked downtown. She stood home. I had a friend who was on a train who had a meeting in the building. His train stopped for some reason, and then once the building got hit, they shut down all the trains. So he wasn't even allowed to get near there. So he was like stuck in a tunnel. But one of my friends, she was a hard worker, Marlene. She was always there early to work. So she showed up early, 96th floor, first building 1, and she didn't make it.
Yeah.
So 9/11, being there, being, my wife, she was downtown, so she saw the whole thing.
Wow.
So me seeing from the vantage point from this side of the island, and then every day after that, I don't know, for like a month, it was like smoldering.
Yeah.
All that fumes and fire and all that. I was like, That's interesting. You know, it's wild that it happened.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think about it, but it did happen.
So September 11th, I'm trying to remember what was I doing, like within my life. I was young. I was like 18. I was staying with my grandmother at the time, I think, or whatever. I think I just slept over there that day, and whatever my grandmother did, whatever she did, doctors or supermarket or something. I was pretty much alone in the house. It was like 9 something, and the phone rang. So I went to go pick up the phone, and it was my dad, my real dad, my biological dad. Anybody that knows me knows I don't really have a relationship with him at all. Like, we barely even see each other, barely talk. But he called my grandmother's house, I guess trying to reach her, and I was there. And I'm talking to him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm sleeping." He's like, "You gotta put the news on. You know, a plane crashed into the World Trade Center." And he's telling me that he thinks it's like a small little airplane. And my first thought was, it's probably just some crazy person committing suicide, and he wanted to do it in a dramatic way. Some pilot with a single engine plane, whatever, like a propeller. Brushed my teeth. I went to the living room, put the news on, because this is, it's crazy news, right? And then when I actually see it on the news, I see how much fire it is, and I told him, this is not a small airplane. There's no way. That's a huge fire, like a lot of smoke, And he's on his cell phone. He actually lived in Sunset Park at the time. So if you know Sunset, it's kind of like a hill, sort of. And he was past 5th Avenue, or past 6th Avenue, technically. He lived between 5th and 4th. But after 6th Avenue, the hill tilts towards Manhattan, right? So he's he goes to climb up on his roof, and he's talking to him on his phone. And he's telling me on the phone, he's watching it. He can see it from his rooftop, the building with the smoke. And as he's talking to me on the phone, I'm watching the TV. We're just like small talk about, like, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe it. The guy must have been crazy or something. And then as we're talking about the plane, I'm telling him it got to be a big plane. He goes, "Oh, it was an airplane. I think it was just like that." And when he said that, I saw the plane in the TV. So that means that he was on the roof watching the plane fly in to the World Trade Center while I was watching it on TV. Once the plane hit the second tower, I immediately knew what it was. I think everybody pretty much knew what it was. My heart dropped. My brain started racing to thoughts of like World War III or something like that, And I had to get off the phone with him. And he wanted to get off the phone too. He wanted to call some other people anyway. And I just stood placid to the TV for a while, just watching everything unfold. And then, as I'm just sitting there watching, my grandmother comes home, whatever, my sister, whatever, we're watching TV. One of the towers fell, and again, we're just home watching TV, like just silent. We're not even really talking. We're just watching the TV in shock. And then my girlfriend at the time, actually the mother of my 2 kids, my 2 older kids, she was going to school to get her GED. So she said that they just let her out of school. She's going home. She's freaking out. She's panicking. And I told her, when you get home, give me a call. I'll meet you there. The towers fell. Both of them fell by this point. And all of a sudden, the day, it was in the morning. All of a sudden, it starts turning darker and darker. And it's like nighttime outside. It's just like night, like black, like gray. I think gray was the best word to describe it. And then it's like snowing gray. Papers flying. Mind you, I'm in Brooklyn, so the smoke sort of kind of went over where we are in Brooklyn. And it was like snowing there. I call it snow because it was like gray smoke for a while. And then my grandmother immediately was like, "Close the window. There's dead bodies in there." And I closed it because some of that stuff was coming into the window. So we closed the windows. And I don't know if she meant it like some sort of superstitious way, like people are dying, there's ghosts in there, or in a real way, like, hey, people were crushed and pulverized, they're in that smoke. Like, I'm not even sure what she meant. But I knew what she was trying to tell me. Like, you got to close that window. You can't inhale that, So then the mother of my kids called me. This is before we had kids. This is right before we had kids, maybe like a year or two before we had kids. She called me. She's like, home. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go down there. I had a bike. I got on my bike. Before I got out there, I actually put on a sweater, gloves. I covered my face. My grandmother was telling me I can't breathe it in, so I covered my face with a scarf, and I put my hoodie on like a scully, and I pulled it down tight, and I just rode my bike. It was like maybe like 12 blocks away from my house, and I'm just going through the streets, and it's like insane. It's just dark gray. All the cars, everything's covered with gray ash. I was traveling under the train, so the path I took didn't have that much on the floor because there was like a train that goes overground above the street. And then I get to her house, and we just sit there, watch TV for a while there. And I stood there for a while, and then went back home to my grandmother's house. But maybe I want to say maybe a week later. So my grandmother likes to keep the house like a freaking museum, right? Like everything has to be perfectly clean, and don't move that, don't touch that. And my grandmother goes to sweep behind the TV, and she asked me to help her move the TV. So when I moved it, I saw the back of the TV. It's one of those old school TV with the bulbs in the back, the big long back. And I noticed that same gray ash was on the back of the TV. And the TV was by the window. So that means some of that smoke was getting in the house and landing there, and was there for like a week before she cleaned it up. I remember she put like rubber gloves on to clean it up. She was saying there was dead bodies in it. But yeah, man, that day stick with me forever. Just the feeling and the shock and horror of it. And I was telling you, Jose, that there was a story I wanted to tell you. One time, this is years later. I don't even know how many years later, when we were in the dorms in the church, and it was just me. This is when Leslie came. It was just me and Leslie in the house. Leslie's on the downstairs. I'm on the second floor, or the third floor. She's on the second floor, and I hear like explosions, and my brain immediately jumped to something's going down. We need to get ready. We need to get the hell out of here. Let's get up. Let's get ready. I got dressed. I was like, ready for bed. It was like 9 o'clock. I'm like, I put my clothes on. I got dressed. I went downstairs to Leslie. She's watching TV. I was like, did you hear those pops, those explosions? She's like, oh, no, I didn't hear anything. So we pause the TV. We start listening. And I'm like, yo, we gotta find out what's going on. We put the news on. We didn't have cable or anything, so we tried our best to like do it online, like internet. Didn't find anything going on. And then I was like, you know what? I have a friend that lives in Park Slope, Danny. So I was like, let's call him and find out what's going on. He's closer to wherever the explosions are coming from. And then I called him. He's like, bro, it's just fireworks. They're doing fireworks in Park Slope, in Prospect Park. And I was like, wow. So, me and Leslie laughed it off. But it just, at that point, I realized, like, wow, that stuff really affected me. Like, I'm really ready for an emergency. Like, and I think that's why me and you got so into, what is it called? When you prepare for an emergency? You know what it's called? What is it called?
Disaster relief?
No, disaster relief. Like when you make a bug out bag to get ready to leave. You have your emergency kit in the closet just in case power goes out.
Zombie apocalypse ready.
Yeah, like that's what we call the zombie apocalypse ready. But that's always in the back of my mind. Like, oh, we got to do this just in case something happens. We got to be ready to go, or be ready to like hoard in for a while or something like that. And I think that's why it's in my head now forever. I'm gonna be one of those crazy old men that have a freaking bunker in his basement. Yeah, that's it.
So I was sleeping when the first plane hit, and my brother calls me. I remember I was sleeping on the floor, rough times. And my father was watching it on TV. We had cable, so we were able to see it. And at the time, my brother and I, we weren't at good standings. I don't even remember what we were fighting about. It was probably something dumb. But he woke me up, and like whatever, I guess maybe the reason why I don't remember what we were arguing about was because like we put that to the side, instantly. And when the second plane hit, that's when, it obviously hit you that it was an attack. So he and I decided to go where we were living to the roof and actually look at it, because we had a nice skyline view from Park Slope. And the interesting thing about it was that there was all the smoke and fumes were hovering over us. Instantly it was like, we wanted to check up on other family members and whatnot. And I remember it being hard to get in contact with people because the phone lines were just crazy. And I just remember being up on the roof and watching it happen. And my brother and I, at the time I was smoking, and I remember he and I started smoking and just watching the whole event. The day felt like it took forever. Like the day wasn't ending. And as they shut down all the flights and whatnot, it got eerie. The skies were clear. I remember the sky. It wasn't even cloudy that day. It was just a clear day. And in New York City, we have 2 airports, and you're constantly seeing the airplanes making their way in and out. But when they decided to stop all the flights, all you could hear passing by were the fighter jets and that distinct sound that they make, just hovering over the city, protecting it. You saw the Pentagon, and we were talking about this earlier. Everyone was just saying, what's next? Am I safe? How far is this thing going? And it was I believe the plane that landed in PA, if I'm not mistaken, that was just insane because it crashed. It didn't make it. So the big story was about those people and how they got together and stopped whoever it was, these terrorists, from achieving another attack. It was, I think, believed that plane was headed to the White House. And I just remember thinking, those individuals fought. I mean, you could imagine them just coming together and just trying to stop these guys. And because the pilots I'm assuming the pilots were dead, they couldn't fly the plane and they lost control. The crazy thing about 9/11 is that it's something that every time it comes up every year, I kind of don't want to see anything about it. And I think to myself, every time 9/11 comes, I think to myself, that's all they're going to cover. That's all that's going to be on. And I don't like reliving or remembering those moments in particular. But 9/11 for me was, one of the moments that I'll definitely never forget. That, and along with 2 others. That's it.
So that was just a few stories of some people that experienced 9/11 in New York City. Obviously, we're not from around the country, but it's crazy the effect 9/11 had on the city right after, especially like immediately after. Everybody was very united almost. Like it felt good to be an American.
Yeah, like I was saying in my clip, my brother and I, we were like constantly fighting at those times because my mom had recently passed away. And it was like there was no issue after that. It was like, yo. And I think we said this before, but you really felt American after that. It was like, this is it. It was after Bush's speech, right? His address. That it was like, we're going to get these guys. And you had this sense of unity. Yeah, exactly. This sense of unity.
Yeah, and it's crazy because for a while we elevated the police and the NYPD as like heroes of our country.
Right. There was no black or white. There was
none of that. Yeah.
It was like, and you know what? I hope that not. I mean, maybe not hope, but there's a lot of stuff going on now. There's a lot of division going on now, and race is always an issue, but I think now it's really in the forefront. At least, during this week for 9/11, at least, hopefully we could put some of those things aside and remember that event and that we're all one nation, right?
Yeah.
I would think so, but then it comes, how long? So I feel like how many years has it been? 17, right?
Yeah,
17
yeah.
years. You know, it's like after
It
9.
doesn't even feel like that long at all.
It doesn't. But after 9/11 on Tuesday, you know, it's like how quickly does it fade from your memory?
Yeah.
You know, we quickly go back to Nike and Trump and
Yeah, seriously.
you know, and I was asking you earlier, do you think we'll see another event like this in our lifetime?
Yeah, I think so, sadly.
Yeah. And
I feel like things are at an accelerated rate. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
violence is at an accelerated rate. You like mass shootings. We used to almost never hear of that when we were growing up, and now they're happening. You know, once every other month. We're bombing people left and right. You know, there's tensions between countries. Like I feel like things are ramping up. A lot of things are going down.
like edging towards the next major.
Something, yeah. Whatever that something is, hopefully the aftermath of it is just like it was in 9/11 where people united. You know what I'm saying?
It's just sad that it takes something like that for the people to unite.
That's the way people are, man.
That's the human condition.
Yep. And we know this because, you know, we don't enact like laws and stuff until something bad happens, right? So, like right now, there hasn't been a mass shooting in a minute, right? Nobody's talking about gun control, right? But now's the best time to talk about it.
Why?
Because everybody's chill, right? There's no tensions high. It doesn't feel like you're trying
Emotions
to...
are low.
Exactly. So one side is going to say, hey, look, we need to work on this gun issue. The other side is not going to feel like, hey, you're attacking me because this happened.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, you want to have a conversation. You know, you're not bringing it up because of something. You're saying, hey, let's have a conversation about this.
Right. Black lives, blue lives.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, you're saying this because it's all over the news. That's why you're saying this.
Right.
Now it's like, oh, we're doing this behind closed doors. Let's work this out now. Okay, let's sit down in an office, whatever, a chamber of whatever, court office. And it's like, all right, let's work out what laws works. It always takes something bad before we have any conversations about it.
But it also feels like there's never really a solution.
Yeah.
When 9/11, the solution was completed years later.
Yeah. And not only that, it was even the solution people were fighting it. Like when 9/11 happened, I remember right before that, literally months before that, I remember driving around with a military recruiter. He would bring me to the recruiting station. He would drop me back off at home. You know, because, you're 18. I dropped out of school. I got my GED. I got nothing going for me.
You actually went to
I went to a recruiter.
which branch?
I don't even remember. I think it was military. I don't know if the actual...
Army, Navy?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember. I just talked to the military because I didn't know what to do with my life. I was like, my uncle was in the military.
Yeah.
So I saw that, when you go to whatever... you'll go to Germany and then you spend some time in Amsterdam, sometime, and it sounded like almost like a vacation. You know what I'm saying? The way he said it, the way he was explaining it to me, I was like, I'll do the military, serve 3 or 4 years.
Why didn't you go through with it?
All right, so the issue I had with it was twofold. One, I have asthma, and the guy was like, all right, you could kind of slide with it, and I was like, all right, we can slide with it, but I was hospitalized for asthma a few times. So he's like, there's no way you're going to get through.
Did they do like a physical on you?
I never actually went through the actual physical because I have to do my medical before I could do that. And once they found out I went through I was hospitalized for asthma, they were like, there's no way we can, you're liability.
You told them about the asthma?
I told them I have asthma. And the guy said, you could kind of slide. We'll kind of let you rock, But once they found out I was hospitalized, they were like,
How did they find out?
your record.
They looked at your record?
They asked me if I was hospitalized. I said, yeah.
Oh, you told them?
Yeah.
Oh, you canceled yourself out.
Yeah, I kind of canceled myself out.
Typical spec.
So the reason why he could let me slide is because there was no real record of my asthma. Like, you went to the doctor for asthma, you got a pump. But once you're hospitalized, it's like you're done. You're in you're in the system now.
Yeah, you could sue us later on if something happens.
Not assuming. The way he explained it to me was, let's just imagine you're in an emergency situation and there's gunfire and you only need to run out of there.
You ain't running nowhere.
You're a liability. Guys have to go back and save you. Or what if there's an injured guy, you got to carry him. So he's like, we can't. Another issue that came up too is I have flat feet. But he's like, you could kind of work to that too.
You have flat feet?
Yeah, flat feet. You have flat feet?
Damn, man.
Yeah. You haven't?
I have the flattest feet you could find.
So he's like, you could. There's insoles and stuff. Like we could work through that too.
Yeah.
Like there's little goals. They're willing to accept anybody really.
Right.
And then like literally, I want to say maybe like, it was like 4 months later, 9/11 hit, and that's when I thought, man, it's like,
Oh, so you applied before 9/11 hit?
yeah, I didn't. Of course you don't know 9/11 was gonna hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then like maybe like 4 months later, 9/11 hit, and one of the thoughts in my mind was like, I was gonna go to that war.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Because I also applied, I think it was the Army, if not the Marines. And
Actually, you know what? I think what I did was the Navy.
Okay.
Because I remember he said something about I gotta do training on the water and stuff.
It might be.
It was, you know what it was? It was the one in Fulton.
That's the same one I went to.
Okay, so
that's
yeah,
insane, bro.
yeah.
We didn't know each other then.
No, we didn't know each other.
No, that's right. Wow. Yeah, I did the same thing, and they basically told me, you're flat feet, we'll work on it. But it was weird because they took me to the back, like in a hidden room, and they did like a physical examination on me, and they were like, yeah, you're too fat.
So
You
they
gotta
did
lose,
that.
like,
They did
40
that to me.
pounds
Like they
and come
weighed me,
back.
they checked my height, they did like measurement BMI, whatever, quote unquote. But the biggest issue was the asthma.
The asthma.
Yeah, the asthma was what shut it down. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't.
No, the weight was mine, and they were like, if you could lose 40 and come back, we got you. I was like, nah, son, I'm out.
I ain't doing this by myself. I'm coming out for help. Yeah, but after 9/11, I remember thinking like, damn, that I would go to that war. Like, definitely. By that point, I would have been 4 months in, finished with boot camp. Like, they're sending people. Whatever war is gonna happen, I was gonna be in it.
Yeah.
And it, I feels like.
I remember 9/11 that people were afraid basically of getting on the train, going to the city. And they were like talking about how there was like counseling. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
There was like counseling and if you need to talk to someone, people were freaking out. And we'll show clips and whatnot of some of that stuff. And, you guys could check it out. I personally don't like watching clips. Like, I try to avoid social media.
Yeah, like, so in the show notes, I'm basically going to put mostly just, like, raw footage of what went down that day. So if you're sensitive and don't want to watch that kind of stuff, I wouldn't suggest it. But some people just have...
Do the podcast if you are sensitive to those things.
Yeah, just listen to the podcast.
Just listen to
But
us,
me
check us
personally, I don't know what it is. It's just like a curiosity or I don't know what it is, but I always... Every 9/11, every time September rolls around, I always catch myself watching these videos over and over again, every year. I don't know what it is, and I always try to find new ones.
That's insane. I try. I still have the images of the people falling, jumping out of. It's just some things that you can't get rid of those images. But so I try to avoid it myself. So I would say I'm a little sensitive, and that's what it is. Yeah. Again, this is the Basement and Why. Check us out. Leave us a comment. Let us know your story. And that's pretty much it.
That's it.
Peace.
God bless America.